Hi everyone and welcome back to National League Lowdown. I'm your host Dan in this latest episode of our podcast. Today I'm joined by my co-host Craig. How are you doing, mate? You okay?
Very well, mate. Just going to mention it once and once only. Braintree are currently top of the league, mate. Top of the league.
We'll tick that off the bingo list. No, it's good to see you, mate. Good to see you. Good result for you at the weekend. And we're joined tonight by Max Kretzschmar, Wealdstone player, also former of Woking and Wickham, and one of my football manager signings that I always used to frequent back in the day. So, pleasure to have you on, Max. How are you doing, mate? You okay?
Hello, guys. Yeah, all good, all good. And Craig, that's definitely not the only time you're going to be mentioning you're top of the league. 100%.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe 2,000 or 3,000 more times.
Maybe.
See how many you can cram in one episode. I think that could be the challenge. But yeah, like I said, obviously the fresh off the back of the first week, some standout results. Braintree's being the most obvious. A lot of us having Halifax to do well this season. Braintree coming out on top comfortably, outplaying them. Craig, I mean, we'll just quickly cover it because obviously you mentioned it. But how was it? Obviously, was it as emphatic as it looked?
Honestly, mate, if people have been listening to us for the last couple of weeks, I've been quite downbeat about our chances this season. The last 7 days or so, we've really kind of shored up that back line with the signings of Tommy Smith and then getting Frankie Terry back on loan. And that back four looked very comfortable. Mason Terry did save a penalty late on, but it was the movement of the front players. Lewis Walker coming off the right was excellent. Akinde was back to his usual self. Probably at his age, pre-season was more about getting up to fitness and maybe coming in slowly kind of thing, but hit the ground running on the first day. Fletcher Hubbard, I was really impressed with. He stepped up from Brightlingsea, which was step 3, step 4 over the last couple of seasons. He stepped in really well. Elliot Thorpe was signed from Solihull quite late on, and he had an excellent game as well. Got an assist for Walker after 3 minutes. And like I said, I was really pessimistic going into it. And then afterwards, I was like, hang on, we can play a little bit here. But it's always been, we've been all good at home. Can we translate it to our away form as well? Because probably 55 points will probably be what needs to get you up. It seems it was about 52, 53 last year. And that means you're going to have to get something away from home. But playing like that, I've got a lot higher chances, but I realise it's only 1 out of 46 games, and come back next week when we've had 2 more games or 3 more games, we could be in a completely different position. But signs are really good so far. Signs are really good.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to enjoy the positives, haven't you? You know, like you say, it's only 1 game, but you know, like he's had a tough season last season. Like you had obviously low expectations going in, so you've got to enjoy it and enjoy being top of the league, mate. And like we've mentioned before we went live as well, you impressed most fans in the league as well. You know, that was a performance that really made people take note of your performance and that result. So all the credit in the world to you. But Max, obviously, Wealdstone got off to a flyer as well against Truro 2-0. How did you see that game, mate? Did you enjoy it? Was it a good game?
Yeah, obviously it was blistering hot, so we had drinks breaks and that. But we knew Truro were going to press with a front 2, which, with the enthusiasm of their first game in the National League, we knew they were going to fly out with a lot of excitement, a lot of enthusiasm. So, yeah, we had to deal with that. We planned for that Thursday, and our training session didn't really go too much to plan. So we stuck with the same game plan, but it was just trying to maybe go over their press a little bit. And, yeah, it was a tight game in the first half. True, had a couple of chances, so did we. But then I think just set pieces at any level, we go in 1-0 with a corner. And, yeah, again, Truro, I'd say, had the better of the second half, controlling it without too many chances, a chance here and there from a set piece or a long throw. And then luckily, we were looking quite light probably 2 weeks ago with a very, very thin squad. And gradually, as the sessions have gone by and the weeks have gone by, we've added a player, we've added another player. So we've got players come off the bench, and Dom Hutchinson did that second half. And, yeah, 2-0 clean sheet. A bit like Craig alluded to, you'll take a win on the first game, especially at home with a clean sheet, whoever it's against. And, yeah, on to Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, first game of the season, you're always thinking, just get off to a good start, get off to a solid start. Carlisle for me as well. It was, I wasn't really sure about Woking because I looked at them last season and they were really good at home, so I was expecting a really tough game. But Carlisle were comfortable, I thought. Throughout, like they were a bit shaky early on. I think there was a few nerves in there. Woking really got like pressed high up, got stuck in early on, but once we got a foothold in the game, I think Luke Armstrong held the ball up well. Jack Ellis was outstanding all game, kept dropping in midfield as an extra man, got the assist for the opening goal. Couple of things I have to say on that game, by the way. The coverage on DAZN, by the way, was absolutely shocking. There was barely any footage at all in the first half, and then the second half there was footage but no audio at all. And they just had a sign up at the bottom saying sorry for having no audio. There was a lot of Carlisle fans that went down to Brunton Park and like in the fan zone to watch it on the big screen, and
11
they just got nothing.
Well, 1,100 travelled to Woking. Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible turnout.
Honestly, though, like I say this all the time, and it might sound a little bit biased, but we've got a seriously amazing fan base. Like we've struggled so badly these last couple of years, and we're still selling out away ends left, right, and centre. Like that, I openly said last season that a lot of them players didn't deserve them fans. Some of them players last season. So incredible fan base. I think this season we'll sell out every away end. We'll be doing, even if win or lose, it doesn't matter. They'll follow them everywhere. And like I say, it was an incredible atmosphere that we kind of played our part in. But walking again, like I say, they were a decent outfit, but I just think Carlisle looked better all over the pitch, comfortably in defence and up front as well. So, like I say, off to flyers for all three of us, which is great.
And you were singing Luke Armstrong's praises in every single pod so far. So for him to back it up with a goal for you on the first day made you look very good, mate, didn't it?
Well, I can't get them all right, but I'll take getting the Carlisle ones right. We'll put it that way. But yeah, I just said he got a lot of unfair criticism, in my opinion, when we were in League One, League Two. We had Mike Williamson as manager, who was trying to keep the ball on the deck. That's not Armstrong's game. Armstrong's game's balls in behind, holding the ball up. And now we've got Mark Hughes who plays that way, and Linney can feed off of Armstrong, and it works really, really well. So, yeah, like I say, full of positives from the weekend. But, it's a long season. We obviously upset a few people, didn't we, on previous pods with having Carlisle to win the league, and York fans weren't particularly happy with that. But obviously York got off to I wouldn't say a sloppy start because I don't think Sutton are a bad side, but just to be in the lead twice and lose the lead twice, and I think Ollie Pearce missed another penalty as well, didn't he? And scored one, so maybe an opportunity missed for them. But yeah, so many results that stood out at the weekend. But we're going to get back to Max because obviously Max is here. We appreciate Max being here. Just wanted to get a bit off you, Max, about obviously your career, past achievements, who you played for. We mentioned Woking and Wickham. Any stories from your times gone by in EFL?
Yeah, I know. I mean, I started at, like most players, with trials at Chelsea and Arsenal. I'm a Surrey boy, so down south. And then I was at Southampton from 10 till 15. Got released there at 15. Made pro at Wickham. Obviously, great times there. Gareth Ainsworth was the manager who gave me I got Gary Woodett gave me my first pro contract and then my second pro contract. And my opportunities come from Gareth Ainsworth. Bit of a crazy manager, obviously amazing at bringing a dressing room together. Loads of stories of him whooping with long hair and blaring rock music out at like 8 in the morning gym and stuff like that. But his biggest strength, obviously, now he's at Gillingham and was at Shrewsbury last year where he got a bit of stick. But getting just a good group of people all on the same page, whether they're the best footballers or not. Yes, his recruitment was very good, but he always looked at the person as well as the player. So we lost in the playoff final to Southend. I think it might have been 2014, 2015. Oh, no, 2016, something like that. Phil Brown was their manager. And that was pretty devastating. Obviously, we went to Wembley. I think we were 1-0 up in the stoppage time. And I was on the bench ready to put my top on for the trophy lift and all that. And as I got it on, they ran down the other end and scored 90th minute. And then they took it to 120th minute in extra time, and then they took it to penalties, and we lost on penalties. But great times at Wickham. Could have been in League One, but eventually left there at Woking. Had some, and that's where I really applied my trade most of my career now. National League. I had 2 seasons in the National League South. One with Hampton and Richmond, and then we lost in the playoff final again. And then we went to Woking.
Was that to Braintree at your place?
Yeah, cheers, mate.
Sorry, mate. Sorry.
Nice of you to drop that in, Craig.
Yeah.
We're top of the league as well at the minute. Did you know that?
we were at home and I scored in that game. We went 1-0 up and then we drew 1-1, and then I got concussion in the game. Couldn't take a penalty because obviously it's a large part of my career I've taken penalties, very confident on them. And unfortunately, yeah, we lost, and Braintree did well to win at our place, and that was very tough to watch them celebrate at our ground. But then I think Alan Dowson was my manager there. A lot of us moved to Woking. He took us to Woking, and we won in the playoff final there against Welling. And then, yeah, since then I've applied my trade probably, like I said, for the majority of it in the National League. Bit frustrating. I'd love to play, or I'd like to look back and play for a team, maybe pushing for playoffs and stuff like that. I've always tried to and get double figures from midfield in goals and assists and things like that. And it hasn't really, ended like that. I think Woking, when COVID happened, we just dipped out on points per game when they split it up per game by like 0.2 points. And when lockdown happened, we didn't make the playoffs by like 0.2 points. So, yeah, but to have a career of such longevity at this level, I think I'm very proud of that. And yeah, hopefully we'll get a few more seasons. We can eke a few more out.
Yeah, mate, honestly, it's impressive. Football can be a very short career at times.
Yeah.
And the fact that you've got so many stories to tell, and like you say there, a lot of them were, losses in playoff finals, disappointment, and you keep going every year and wanting to improve on that. It's seriously impressive, mate, honestly. So, like I say, for me, to get you on here and get your view on things is incredible. So thanks for joining us. And I wanted to ask you, obviously, this season for Wealdstone, what's kind of the aspirations? Obviously, last season, if I'm right, you stayed up on the last day. Was it last season? Stayed up on the final day. Obviously, you'll want it not to get that close this year, but any plans to go any higher, or do you think you kind of just maybe mid-table?
We've done that 2 seasons in a row now. So we went to Oldham away and won 2 years ago, stayed up on the last day. And then we did it last year, beat Halifax and needed results to go our way. So, yes, very stressful. Listen, Wealdstone probably got a budget for like a team in the National League South. So we're always going to be pushing uphill, pushing water uphill. So the fans are so passionate and they obviously want us to do the best, but I still think they have a realism that finishing just above the relegation zone is a success in itself for Wealdstone. Obviously, at the beginning of the season, we don't set out to do that. We've got Sam Cox, a new manager, who we had when we stayed up 2 years ago against Oldham. Fresh new manager, had a run at it at Oxford City in the National League North, which didn't go to how he wanted, but really enthusiastic young manager, wants to play with the ball on the floor. But I think we're hopefully not going to fall into those naive traps where maybe we go to a Halifax or a Carlisle later in the year when the pitch isn't so great and we're going to keep playing. No. If we've got a big striker like Shauna Darkler who's back from injury, we might go over the press. So we can be flexible. We do want to dominate the ball every game, but it might not be total football every week. So I'd love to think that we could have a more relaxing year this year towards the end of the season. I can maybe even have some pina coladas in the sunset by April. But yeah, it's going to be another tough season. It gets very tough. We've got 6 games at home in the first 8 because Halifax's pitch hasn't been ready to be played. So I think that's a good springboard. Hopefully we can rack up a few points. And then, listen, we've got a few away games around Christmas time, which will be crunch time. But yeah, always positive at the beginning of the season, like Craig was earlier about Braintree. I'm sure like you are about Carlisle.
Yeah, no, I think with obviously the start of the season, like you say, getting them home games, on the board early on, that could be a really good springboard, couldn't it, for you to have a better season than last season? Even if that's maybe just a couple of spaces higher type thing. I think it could be really important. But like you say, we talked on our preview show last week about the nitty gritty part of the season. And you mentioned it there around Christmas time, where everyone's playing 2-3 games a week, and you're picking up injuries. Obviously, generally you're going to play at least one tough away game in there somewhere. Obviously, Christmas is such a big part of the season where a lot of teams kind of make or break, don't they? So who do you have around that time? Do you think that will be like the decisive point of your season?
I'll have a look now on the fixture list, but it is, like you said, it is so relentless. Like, it's more the travelling. So
Yeah.
Wealdstone came out with a statement before the season started that they're going to reduce the budget, the playing budget. So probably you're probably in the luxury at Carlisle of having overnight trips. You're going down on the Friday if it's a Saturday game. Like we kind of as a club have to pick and choose like when we could do that. And obviously, I think the National League's never been more national this season. Gateshead, Carlisle, Altrincham, Rochdale. So the likes of Craig's team, Braintree and us, we're going to be travelling a lot this year because we lost Dagenham last year. We've lost a couple of London teams in Everton as well. So we have a Truro away on the 6th of December, Halifax away, Carlisle away, and that's on the 3rd of January. So that's travelling around that period. So yeah, like you said, we have got quite a tight squad at the minute. I'm sure our manager will probably dip into the loanee market as he's got some good knowledge from his Spurs days and academy days. So yeah, it's all about having a squad and 16, 17, 18 players ready to play, ready to be on the bench one day, maybe not come on, and then ready to start the next game. It's crucial.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, you mentioned about your manager, Samuel Cox. I seen him on Baller League, with managing United, I think it was. I was very impressed with the way they played. Obviously, I know it's totally different, but what kind of experience do you think he could take from that into the National League, if any?
Yeah, I think he's brought in a few players from lower league as well. So Saka Sam, who's a very tricky player from #United. I think he's taken a bit of time to adapt to maybe an 11-side men's game. It is a lot higher than step 3, step 4. But he played brilliantly last night. He got a goal direct from a corner and an assist. So, yeah, it's more about the gaffer's style of play. He wants to dominate the ball. And then with his assistant, who's an analyst at Arsenal as well, he's more of like a problem solver. Like, okay, if Carlisle or Truro or whatever come full press, we can't just keep playing into their hands. Can we think of other ways to maybe stretch the game and then dominate the game again? So, yeah, I think it'll be back to the kind of days of Stuart Maynard and things, and hopefully Wealdstone dominating the ball, but trying again maximise every playing budget we have, every young player, every loanee we can, because that's the only way Wealdstone can kind of survive at this level and the budget we have.
Yeah, I agree, and I think obviously you touched on it again there, but will there be more business, do you think, obviously over the next couple of weeks or so as the season really kicks off? Do you know if there's any plans to bring in a massive, not necessarily a massive amount of players, but maybe a couple in the next few weeks?
I'm not privy to that information, but I think so. I think probably we need a striker because Sean the Darkrow is fantastic. He's coming back from a serious injury. Fingers crossed, he's been fine pre-season, but we probably need a little bit up top as well. And we just signed a left-sided defender from Orient, 18-year-old. He's incredibly physical. So I think our midfield. I think we've got 6 or 7 midfielders now. We tend to play a box midfield, which a lot of teams play with now. So that seems quite a strong area. So yeah, maybe a little bit of magic, maybe a winger or a wing back or so, and a striker. But again, that's just me, my opinion. I'm not too sure what's going on behind the scenes.
Now, hopefully for you guys, you find another striker like Alex Reid last year, because he obviously came over to you and hit the ground running, went back to Oldham, and then obviously you guys got him back again for the latter stages. And probably in hindsight, his goals may have been the difference between you staying up and going down kind of thing. So there may be some of the bigger fish as such in this league that have got a massive squad, and hopefully you can find that gem in there that's not quite getting the minutes that can come and play for you guys as well. Or for Braintree, of course.
100% is gold kept. Yeah, 100% gold kept. But I think you make a good point where, like, Wealdstone, maybe a bit like a Brighton on a much shorter scale. Like, if you're a young player, you get given the platform. And, like, if you look at Callum Cisse, who went to Salford this summer, come with us for 18 months, get a platform to play, whoosh, you're off, go make some money in the league and go better your career. So I think Wealdstone have always given loanees that chance to maybe go back to their parent club and get a better move, but also sign and give a platform for young players to go and give that springboard. I know Alex Reid wasn't that young, but again, like you said, little rough gems in to polish up and give them a little boost, a little kick on in their career as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think we've talked on here previously about the importance of having versatile players, players that can maybe play right back, but they can also slot in midfield when needed and things like that. And I think obviously with a squad the size that you guys have, that's obviously important as well, isn't it? As in terms of, you want these players that are maybe diamonds in the rough, people that you can work with and improve, but you also need maybe like experienced heads like yourself that can maybe, help them players improve.
100%. It's been one of my frustrations here as well, just simply for budget reasons, an experienced centre half. If you look at Byron Webster for Bromley, like he costs money. Like he's a leader of men. He's got that change room by the scruff of the neck. And that kind of player, although he's very aging in his career, he's priceless. So Woking and Wealdstone have always struggled to kind of attract those players because they cost a bit more money. Obviously, Jack Cook got announced captain, myself and Enzio vice captain. So there's your like 3 leadership group there probably. And yeah, we'll have to young players have to rely on us for advice, and we'll have to rely on them for energy and enthusiasm and things like that. So really good point you make about people playing different positions and maybe round pegs and square holes. But yeah, I think you've got to chip in, especially like you said, when we get to the nitty gritty of the new year and the Christmas period, you're going to have to churn out 90 minutes. And you might not be at your best, but if you're working your nuts off and being a 7 out of 10 a week away at Altrincham on a Tuesday night, again, that's priceless.
Yeah, definitely.
It's for the fans as well, isn't it? I think if they see a player that will run through a brick wall for their club, they'll naturally get behind them. And when they do make a mistake or their ability is lacking in some aspects, just that sheer hard work and determination. Like, for example, if I go back to Braintree, and I always kind of link it back to Braintree, we had Jermaine Francis last season. He kind of struggled at Barnet, come to us a little bit low on confidence, but would just run for a brick wall every single week for us. The crowd got behind him and he was flying, and now he's at Hartlepool, and like you said, he's probably got that move off the back of the loan move. If he was still at Barnet, sulking, got his head down, moaning, he'd have probably had to go back to maybe the National League South or the National League North, but he got his head down at Braintree, really dug in for the team, bought into the cause, and now he's playing himself probably at one of the other higher teams in the league, as long as he doesn't score at the weekend against us. But just shows what a bit of hard work can do.
Dad just demanded it be from my whole life. Like, it's the easiest thing to do, to put one foot in front of the other, have a good attitude, be coachable as well. You'd be so surprised. Like, I do a lot of coaching as well. When if you do leave a young player out, they do sulk, they do moody. They want to show you that they're moody. It gets you nowhere. You need to get angry. You need to get motivated and go, right, I'm going to prove you wrong. Right, I'll tell you what, you're wrong for leaving me out. So next week in training, I'm going to work so hard and prove to you that you're wrong. That's the way to do it. But you'd be surprised. I don't know whether we're on our phones too much now, or the resilience of young people now. There is a lot of moping and things like that, and I just think you're just wasting so much time and energy. And I did it a little bit when I was younger, but you learn that when you get older.
Yeah, there seems a lot of trying to find the way out and find the next avenue, rather than right, I'm going to pull my socks up and prove you wrong. Some people just go, no, if you don't like me, I'm off. I'm going to go find somewhere else. Rather pull your socks up, crack on, prove me wrong. But like you said, that doesn't seem to be in life as much as anything as it used to be 15 years ago.
Yeah, and it seems like, to me, obviously, it's like football's like any kind of walk of life, really. Even though football is something that we all love, and that obviously there's a lot of players in high levels on lots of money, but in terms of effort, attitude, that type of thing, you see it so often now where there's a player been left out, so then they're posting something on social media about how unhappy they are, or you see it with, I'm not going to come on, I'm going to go home. I remember reading that about Garnacho with Man United last season and things like that. So I think for me, it's important that people have these attitudes, but I do think it is more of an old school mindset. You know, I remember growing up, like my dad used to talk so much about Alex Ferguson and the way he dealt with Man United players and stuff back in the day. And he was saying about, like, you know, he'd drop them, but he'd be saying, right, I don't need you now, but I need you in November when we've got 4 games in the space of 11 days. I need you then, so keep your mind ready for that. And I think these days they're just here that they've been dropped, and they're like, why have they dropped me? Why? Like, it's not like, how can I change that? It's just why, and that it's very not, I don't want to say selfish, but just some people are very, like, they don't see their own problems. They just want to be like, right, it's the manager's problems, it's the coach's problem, and there's nothing wrong with me. And like Craig said, we'll just move on elsewhere instead of trying to stay here and fight for my place. But obviously, like I say, Max, you touched on that yourself there. Have you got plans for, like, post playing football? Obviously, you're into coaching. Would you be interested in management or anything like that?
Definitely. Obviously, I'm running my own coaching business at the minute, but I'd like to maybe, have that running alongside being my dream as an EFL coach or an EFL manager. I've done my B license. I'm planning to do my A license, which is quite difficult to get on. So we'll see if we can do that in January. But yeah, I mean, I got good grades at school. I could do other things. I've done a degree in sports media and broadcasting as well, which is why I like doing things like this. I was commentating on BBC radio for the Wycombe Charlton game because I was an ex-Wycombe player for the playoff game this summer. So yeah, I like doing that stuff. But that thing on the grass is so good. It's something I've done for so long, and I do think I have a good footballing brain and an eye for coaching, teaching as well. I've worked in schools and things like that. So that's what I'm really passionate about. Obviously, I think on average you get sacked every 18 months in that game. So I'll have to be financially secure and things like that. So, but playing is the best job in the world. I think being involved in it on any secondary level is the second best thing. Coaching, scouting, whatever it is. It's just to be involved in football, even doing what you guys do. It's just brilliant.
Yeah, I mean that's so good to hear, mate. Because there's a lot of pro footballers that you hear that once they retire, they kind of want to step away from it and things. And I think sometimes it's quite sad to hear because it's like you'd still want to be involved with something that you've loved for so long. So that's really nice to hear. And honestly, like you speak so well about it, and you've got so much experience. I'm sure you'd be a fantastic coach or manager when you get to that point. So, like I say, it'd be. I'll be watching you for the future. See if you end up at Carlisle or anything. I've maybe preempted it on my football manager. You never know. But yeah, no, it's very. I know it'd be a bit of a trek up here for you, but might be worth it.
Yeah, just going back to obviously Wealdstone and everything. And broadcasting. You've obviously got the documentary, and you've obviously got the zone following you guys a little bit. How's that around the camp? Does it change certain plans when they're in? Do you try and keep things under wraps a little bit, or is it all access to them?
It is all access. I haven't seen them too much. I know they were there beginning first game of the season and in pre-season as well. So I remember, I think we were playing QPR in a friendly. We were 1-1 or 2-1 up at half time at the 23s team, and I was a bit frustrated at how we were playing because, as we were alluding to off air before we came on, you should win against 23s teams because the National League is so. I think I call it League 3 now. It really is because the money involved, the players playing. There's a lot of players who are getting a lot more money in the National League top 8 than they are in the bottom 12 in the League 2. So it's very professional. And yeah, the cameras have been around. I got into the change room and I wanted to like F and blind a little bit. But I think fans want to see the inside of it. That's what they want to see. Like, I think we take for granted as players and as coaches or whatever that we've been on the inside. We know how things work, and we take, even just eating together or having coffee in the morning or a bit of banter in the morning. I think fans crave all that stuff, which is hence why, like, the Tottenham and Arsenal and the documentaries. There's a Birmingham one out at the minute that I started the other day. That they are really good. Wasn't a massive fan of the Wrexham one, obviously, but I think it brings a really good niche to the fans that they want to sing. So yeah, they've been in and around us. I think they'll continue over the season, but yeah, there's a couple of episodes that have come out which I haven't seen yet, but the trailers look quite good. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it speaks to a lot of fans, because like you say there, a lot of fans aren't privy to that kind of information behind the scenes and things. So to even think that you're getting even 10% of what goes on behind closed doors is obviously intriguing to anybody. I remember watching the Arsenal one, the Spurs one, the one with Mourinho when he was talking to Dele Alli and things like that, and you're just like, wow, like how am I seeing this? Like, should this be on TV? This kind of stuff. So I think that really does speak to people, and it's becoming more and more popular now. So it'd be interesting to see, obviously, how the season goes. They might want you to have a more dramatic season than what you're maybe hoping for the viewing figures. Potentially, they might need a last day survival mode again.
We were joking in the group chat a couple of weeks ago that they should have done it last year because we had manager turnover, manager turmoil, like just bonkers things happening, staying up on the last day with 15 minutes to go. We're 3-0 up. Our game was kind of dead and buried. Then Dagenham or Solihull equalised at Dagenham, and all of a sudden our fans are going mental when nothing's happened on our game. So we know there's been a goal. They should have come last year. So I get your point, Dan. I don't want it to be as hectic as that, but like it does bring, like we said, a great perspective to the fans. And yeah, I'm sure there'll be some entertainment, some highs and I know for a fact there'll be highs and lows along the way.
Yeah, no, I agree, mate. I think it'll be interesting viewing. I hope for your sake personally that it's maybe a bit more boring than some people might be hoping for, and he's comfortably safe and everything. But I'm sure the DAZN people and the documentary people will be hoping for some last day drama to get the viewing figures through the roof. But yeah, so that obviously takes us nicely on to our predictions for obviously we done last week. Craig, do you want to update us on how we did last week? Because I've got a feeling you might want to drop that in as well.
Yeah, so just like Braintree, I'm also top of the league at the moment. So,
Oh, the second time you mentioned it.
I got one correct, perfect result, which was Scunthorpe win away at Tamworth 2-1. And then I think I had 5 correct teams to win as well. Yourself was in second, Dan. You also got one correct result, which was your Carlisle one. You backed your boys 2-0 away from home, and they came up trumps for you. And then Mark got some correct results, but not correct scores. And then Ben from York got a couple and put the guests in last place. So there's a lot of pressure on Max to get them flying up the table today. Obviously, Mark can't join us today, so we won't go through his today, but we'll put them on the social medias and everything for everyone as well. You'll be surprised if he's not back Truro, because he seems to be wanting to get a statue in Truro at some stage as well.
I'm thinking he's wanting the keys to the city, given his predictions this season. Thinking he's wanting some kind of royal achievement. But yeah, so like I've just done them in alphabetical order for the weekend. So we'll start with Aldershot against Boston. Obviously, this is Boston's first league game, because first game they were due to play Morecambe. Craig, what's your predictions for this one?
Yes, obviously they managed to find a game last week, Boston. They managed to get in the National League Cup, which obviously I know has got its critics, but for them it was probably a little bit of a blessing in disguise that they could find a game that had a semi-competitive element to it, because if not, there'd have been a game behind everyone in terms of their preparation. So for them to get that, and I think they got the result against Middlesbrough, was a good thing. But I think Aldershot might just have a little bit too much from at home. If it was Boston at home, I'd probably back Boston. It's one of those games. So I'm going to go 2-1 Aldershot.
Yeah, Max, what's your predictions for this one, mate?
I've reversed it. I've got 2-1 Boston. I think their form at the end of last season was frightening, incredible. They were dead and buried, as Craig and I will know, as we were around that relegation scrap for a long, long time. Yes, they've lost a few players in the summer, but I think Aldershot have got a real problem at centre-back. I've had a couple of bad injuries, long-term injuries at centre-half. So obviously Jack Barham's gone down the league to Chelmsford. I really like him. Never like a Vardy striker, never gave up and things like that. So I'm going to go Boston 2-1, but I can see where Craig's coming from.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go slap bang in the middle. I've got 1-1. I think draw. I just think Boston, like you say, they played in the cup, which helped, because, like I say, they would have been a week behind. But I do just Aldershot conceded 3 first game against Altrincham. They look like defensively they may be struggling a little bit, like Max has said. And I think if Boston were at home, I probably would have said Boston, but I'll just go for a draw. I'll sit on the fence for the first one. Second one takes us nicely on to Carlisle versus Boreham Wood. Max, I'll come to you first for this one, mate. What you got for this one?
I've got a home win, Carlisle. I think my standout picks for the season will be, I do think York will run away with the league. I think York, Carlisle, Forest Green with the biggest budgets have got the best chance. I think Rochdale will go very close as well this year. They've got a very good team, strengthened up front. But I digress. Yeah, Carlisle at home. Boreham Wood have always been a tough team to break down under Luke Garrard. So 1-0 Carlisle.
Yeah, what you said there about who you think could be up the top, that was kind of most of our predictions. I think when we've done our pre-season, I think everyone you mentioned, the only thing for me I said was a bit worrying for me was Forest Green, just in terms of how will Robbie Savage adapt from Macclesfield to Forest Green. But I think if he does well, then Forest Green are going to be up there, aren't they? That was the obviously Mark being a Macclesfield fan. Isn't a big Robbie Savage fan these days, so he had his reservations as well. But yeah, again, I digress as well. I've got 2-0 Carlisle. 2-0 Carlisle stood me well last week, so I'm sticking with 2-0 again. I think defensively we looked solid at Woking, and we took our chances when we got them. It could have been more on Saturday, to be honest, if it wasn't for the keeper. So I'll go for comfortable 2-0. Craig?
Yeah, I was going to go 2-0, but I think as Boreham Wood maybe push later on in the game, Carlisle will grab a third. So I don't think it will be as comfortable as 3-0 suggests, but I think eventually their depth and their quality will shine through, and a couple more late goals will lead to a 3-0 to Carlisle.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy with that. Unanimous. I'm liking that. Next, we've got Eastleigh versus Gateshead. Craig, I'll come to you first for this one.
Yeah, so this is one of the games I watched the highlights quite in depth, and it just seemed that Gateshead kept getting caught out playing from the back. They're similar to what Max was saying earlier about them having a system. It seemed they were not going away from it no matter what. And ultimately, all 3 goals kind of came from their own kind of mistakes. So it'll be interesting because I reckon if it clicks, it will look beautiful and could. But with the amount of wholesale changes they have every summer, I still feel like there could be some problems for them. Eastleigh, disappointing result for them away at Brackley, so they'll be looking to bounce back at home. So I am going to back them. I think there will be goals because I think there will be mistakes in there. So I'm going to go for a big one. I'm going to go 3-2 Eastleigh.
Entertaining game, but yeah, just touching on what you said. One of the notes I made about the Gateshead game was, after it's happened once, you maybe allow it a second time, but once you've done it a second time and you're giving it away again for a third goal, at what point?
A lovely finish.
Lovely finish.
Play on the ball.
But yeah, it was just like, at what point is enough? What point do you have to change the way you're doing things because you're just gifting goals away? I've gone for 3-1 Eastleigh in this one. I think Eastleigh will bounce back. I worry for Gateshead this season. I've said that pretty much from day one on here. Just, again, off the field issues, playing style, just not sure if it'll click. Max, what have you got for this one, mate?
I've gone 1-1 draw. I agree. Gateshead have played a beautiful brand of football for a long, long time since Mike Williamson and the rest, Rob Elliott, and it continued. And they produced players both into the league, and also both those managers went on, as you know, Dan, to MK Dons and Carlisle and Crawley. I've gone 1-1. Again, I don't really know too much about EC this year. They've kept the manager. They do sign good players. Obviously, they lost Jade, who went to Burton, who was a very good player. I've gone 1-1.
Yeah, I mean, again, I can see it because I think when, like Craig said, when Gateshead turn it on, it'll be good. It'll be really good. It's just a case of when and how and if teams have clicked and they're pressing them high up and things like that. But yeah, I think that's a fair assessment there, mate. Next, we've got Forest Green versus Yeovil. Max, what have you got for this one, mate?
Home win. Robbie Savage's first game at home. Yeovil have signed some good players. Mark Cooper signed quite a good 11. I think this is the hardest time, obviously, to predict games because we've got no data to go on, no form, nothing like that. A lot of new squads, non-league squads turn over very quickly. But you'd have to fancy Forest Green with their budget. They absolutely smashed the door down against Solihull. I don't know how they didn't win that game. Solihull went down to 10 men very early on, and I think they had something like over 20 shots. So yeah, I'll go for a Forest Green 2-0 home win.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen them stats as well. I think it was 26 attempts, I think they had. Obviously, I've only seen highlights. I haven't seen the whole game, but you can only think it must have been a hatful of chances missed. Nick Houghton obviously got off to a flyer with his goal as well. They've signed some really good players, Forest Green. Like I say, my only little apprehension is how does Robbie Savage adapt to the league? If it comes off, I think they'll be right up there. I just wonder if it will or it won't. But I've gone for a Forest Green comfortable. I've gone 3-0 home win. I think Forest Green, like I said, they missed a lot of chances last week, but this week I think it might start coming off for them and they'll start putting them chances away. So I've got 3-0. Craig, what have you got for this one, mate?
Yeah, I'm going to back Forest Green as well. I think they do well at home. I think it will be the away form under Savage where he needs to maybe be a little bit more, use his game management, be a little bit savvy because he is inexperienced in the manager sense. Obviously, I know he's had an illustrious career. No matter what you say about him, it was a very good career he had. His game management might come a little bit undone on the away games, but I back him to be very strong at home. So I'm going to agree with Max, 2-0.
Yeah, like you say, I think it all depends on Savage. If it comes off, there's no reason they can't be up there right at the top for this season, but just depends. But next we've got, I'm just looking, Hartlepool against Braintree. We'll save Craig till the end.
Hartlepool against top of the league, Braintree.
Sorry, yeah, top of the league, top of the league, Braintree against struggling Hartlepool after their draw first game. Max, what have you got for this one, mate?
again, not much data to go on, but I think Hartlepool might struggle this year. I think it's such a strong league. There was a few teams in the middle of the league where we played against, and I was like, oh, they're not great, but they grind out results much better than what we were doing at Wealdstone. So I've gone for an away win here, Braintree. We were saying off air before, 2-1 I've gone for. I had a friend who played for Cambridge against Braintree in pre-season, Jack Young, and he said he was very impressed with Braintree. And I think they were very lively. I think the front three last year were very lively. I know a few of them have left now, but John Akinde is going to be effective at any level with his strength and hold-up play. I think when we played Braintree away and we beat them, he did get a bit tired second half, and as soon as he dipped off, that's where we came a lot stronger and scored 2 second-half goals. But yeah, I'll go for a Braintree win. It's a long way up there, isn't it, Craig? But I'll go for a little 2-1 win.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. So for the whole time I've said Braintree top of the league, I've actually bet them not to win at the weekends.
Yeah, I mean, I've said on here from my first show that I done a few weeks ago, said about obviously Hartlepool losing Manny Deserve, massive loss for them. I think they will potentially struggle without him, but I do think they've signed some proven strikers. Danny Johnson, I think it was. No, is it Danny Johnson? Walsall?
Rings a bell.
Yeah, they signed somebody to replace him.
Alex Reid as well.
And
Jermaine Francis.
Yeah, they've signed well, so I think they'll be okay. I don't necessarily think they'll be right up there, but I think they'll be okay. So I've got Hartlepool 2-1. Sorry, Craig. I just think it's a long way up there, like Max says, and like your home form is obviously going to be a lot more important than your away form. So yeah, that's what I've got. Craig, what have you got for us?
So yeah, just going back to what Max said about John Akinde through the middle being very much a focal point. I think last year, especially when F. Young moved on, before him it was one or the other, and then one come on and done a similar job. When F. Young moved on, it was a lot of kind of work on Akinde, and as you said, he struggled to get that intensity for 90 minutes. If he did stay on, the intensity dipped. If he was replaced, there wasn't a similar replacement. This year, I think Lewis Walker's been a good addition in there. He played off the right and then moved central when Akinde come off. So I think that was a good change and a good signing, and he's obviously hit the ground running. But I worry for us away from. I am pleased to say that we are travelling up the day before, because when we went there last year, we weren't able to because of budget constraints, which obviously makes a big issue, as Max mentioned earlier. But being able to travel up on the Friday maybe does stead us in a good position than we might be. But I just feel like our away form might take a dip, and we're going to have to pick up some scalps at home to keep our head above water, which we managed to do last season. So I've actually agreed with you here, Dan, and gone 2-1 Hartlepool.
Yeah, so that's why you're getting it
proved wrong. Very happy to be proved wrong.
And that's why you're making the most of saying about being top of the league this week, because you think it might not be the same next week. That's fair enough, mate. Like I say, it's all just opinions. Rochdale against Altrincham next. I think this is the early kickoff, actually, this one. Did I see this was 12:30, this one?
Yeah, there's a 12:30 and a 5:30, isn't there?
Yeah.
Enhanced coverage, so hopefully they get some good quality coverage.
Yeah, I mean, as long as they've got audio and visual, that'll do, Not that I'm bitter or anything about Saturday, but, it's fine. Rochdale, Altrincham, I've gone 3-1 Rochdale. Manny D, off to a flyer. One of my picks for the season. Definitely going to be in the running for top scorer if he stays fit and everything. I just think they'll have too much for Altrincham. I think Altrincham's home form will be good, like they showed last week, but I think away they may struggle here. So I've gone 3-1. Max, what have you got for this one, mate?
I've actually gone 3-1 as well. I think two very good footballing teams, both like to get it down. Rochdale very strong. I imagine their pitch will be immaculate. And yeah, you're right. Disarray just probably offers Rochdale what they didn't have last year, when maybe the games are a bit closer and tighter. And again, they might be able to go more direct to them rather than playing through the lines all the time. So yeah, I see a high-scoring game. Didn't know it was the early kickoff, but yeah, I've gone 3-1 as well.
That makes me feel better that somebody's gone the same as me. I'm happy with that. Craig, what have you got for this one, mate?
Yeah, so I was pleasantly surprised by Altrincham's threat going forwards. Obviously, that their biggest name has moved on to Carlisle, which I know you're obviously delighted about and has been mentioned several times as well. But They
maybe.
managed to score 3 goals. What I noticed about them is they were very quick to get things going again. I think 2 of their goals come from quick free kicks where Aldershot were caught kind of in transition. So that'll be a factor in their game. But I think Rochdale will have too much going forward. Going back to their game, again, moments win them games. That's probably what he was signed for. A great finish. Spall slightly behind him, flicked it home, and then kind of flew from then. And I think he'll get 20 plus goals this season. And I'll back him to get 1 in the 2-0 win for Rochdale.
Yeah, I think, like you said, I've seen both of those goals and they were both good in their own way. One was like a proper team goal where there was a nice reverse pass, ball into him, and then there was one where it was just an instinctive striker finish. I think, yeah, it really shown already that even in pre-season, it was a really good bit of business for Rochdale. Next, we've got Scunthorpe against Woking. Obviously, Craig, I'll come to you first for this one because you got your correct result with Scunthorpe last week.
So I obviously placed them mid-table. I think Mark actually had them in the playoffs for the season. He was really kind of complimentary about Scunthorpe, so I watched a little bit to see kind of what he was talking about, and I was impressed away at Tamworth. Obviously, Tamworth, especially last season, was a very horrible place to go, and they made it very, very tough for them. But there was a moment of magic that opened the score, and then probably goal of the first game week from the free kick. And then they bounced back after conceding and looked comfortable holding on as well, which was very impressed. So I'm going to back them at home today, at the weekend, against Woking, who I don't think will be in any trouble. But if this result comes true, there'll be 0 from 2, which obviously is not an ideal way to start the season. But they obviously had a very tough game last week, and going to Scunthorpe won't be easy. So I'm going to go goals for both teams. I'm going to go 2-1 Scunthorpe.
Yeah, I mean, for me with Woking, I thought that they looked a solid enough outfit, but they didn't really trouble us at the back. Apart from one long throw that Breeze maybe flapped at a little bit, but it got given as a foul. I think probably a bit lucky to get the foul. But other than that, they didn't really trouble us. So I worry for them scoring, especially away from home. So I've gone for 2-0 Scunthorpe. That Danny Whitehall free kick that will be goal of the season contender, I'm sure. Even this early on, I think it's comfortable to say that. Max, what have you got for Scunthorpe Woking?
I've got 1-1. I think Neil Ardley, very experienced manager, won a lot in the league with AFC Wimbledon, been at Solihull, Notts County, very experienced. So he'll be able to set up a team away from home. They're currently 0-0 against West Ham 23s in the National League Cup. Yeah, I got a bit of a blind spot as being a southerner with the National League North. So I know Scunthorpe have got a decent budget, got some great players there. So yeah, I expect them to be pretty safe this season. But I'm going to go for a 1-1.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I think it makes sense. Like I say, Neil Ardley's very experienced at this level as well. So it should be interesting. Next, we've got Southend versus Tamworth. Max, I'll come straight back to you for this one, mate. What are you expecting from this one?
So Southend were my team on a par with Rochdale as well. I do think they'll have a very good season. I think they've recruited well. Of course, maybe not unexpectedly, but they've had some terrible luck and financial things over the last years. What the manager's done there is quite incredible to keep that team together, sometimes going to games with 12, 13 fit players, and to then flip it once the money's come in a little bit, and they're much more professional now day to day. Obviously, losing in the playoff final, they probably didn't expect to get there, but they did. I think they're going to be right up there. I think they've recruited well. I've got them for a 2-0 win against Tamworth.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you say that about Southend because I think as a podcast over our averages, I think our top 4 that we predicted was Carlisle, York, Rochdale, Southend. I think that was the 4. And then it was a mixture of Forest Green. I think there was a few, Halifax were in there. But yeah, I think that Southend they've turned off the field issues, having the lack of players, and they've really flipped it on its head, like you say. And they've looked impressive against Gateshead. And I think they'll win here as well. I've got 3-1 Southend on this one. Craig, what have you got for this one, mate?
Yeah, so really impressed with Southend last week. They obviously had done their homework on Gateshead and knew exactly what they were going to do and managed to catch them 3 times. As Max said, they were probably a surprise last season because of everything going off the pitch that they managed to get into the playoffs late on, and with a couple of different moments in that in that playoff final. I think they had a big chance at, I think it was they were 2-1 up or 1-0 up, and there was a big moment where the striker should have scored, keeper made a save. We wouldn't be talking about them right now. We'd be talking about Oldham. So that's the fine margins of football. But they kept the core together. They've added little pockets of quality around it, and I really see them being up there again. And going on to Tamworth, obviously I put them in my relegation zone because I heard things about a change of style, and then I watched their goal at the weekend, and it couldn't have been any more direct from a pro. So maybe there isn't as much of a change of style as I heard there was going to be there. But I think Southend will have too much quality for them, and it will be 3-1. I'm going to agree with you, Dan.
Yeah, I thought that because I remember we talked at length about it, didn't we, with Tamworth, saying that apparently there was maybe going to be a bit of a style change, and then I seen the goal and I was like, no, stick to what you know, stick to what you know, stick to what you know. But yeah, next we've got Sutton versus Solihull Moors. Craig, I'll come straight back to you. What have you got for this one, mate?
Yeah, so obviously Sutton fairly impressive on opening day against York. Going to York and getting anything this season won't happen to many teams. So to be able to pick up a point away at York was a very impressive start. I've obviously always sung the praises of Jack Sims in goal, who I think had a very good game again. And very impressed. Nadson hit the ground running, was very lively up front for them. And I'm going to back them here, which I don't think will be a surprise to anyone because I've managed to sneak them into my playoffs. So I've got to back them most weeks as well to back that up. And I'm going to go for 2-1 Sutton.
Yeah, I mean, I've obviously seen the highlights at the weekend, but I'm a big fan of Ashley Nadesan. He was on loan at Carlisle a few years ago. We had him up front with Jerry Yates. Both absolutely outstanding footballers, work rate. They don't just score, they'll assist, they'll create chances by making runs off the players, off the defenders. I think he'll have a really good season. I've got 2-1 as well. 2-1 to Sutton in this one. Sorry, Callum. I know won't want us to say that, but Callum, our admin on social media, is a Solihull Moors fan, so we apologise in advance.
If we all
Max,
put him to lose, he might not post this, to be fair.
yeah, that's true. Actually, yeah, it's true. He might go on strike. Max, what have you got for this one, mate?
I've got 1-1. I think Sutton have recruited quite interestingly. They signed a lot of players from Conference South, young players from Maidstone, other teams like that who are really, again, we'll talk about earlier, who are hungry to better their careers. So obviously coming away from, I think, 4-4-2 when they got promoted before, and then now they nearly got in the playoffs in League Two, and then they come back down. Obviously, my old manager, Matty Taylor, is at Solihull. I think they've recruited well as well. Dan Creaney from Tamworth, who scored plenty of goals. We played quite direct under Matty Taylor, but it was more that we stumbled across that and we needed to win games. He was under pressure quite early on in his tenure, and we went to a 3-5-2. Not sure what shape they were on the weekend, but I know he demands so much hard work from his players, and going down to 10 men early on. And I know we alluded that probably Forest Green, if you played that game 99 more times, they might have won 98 times. But to get a point at home, having gone down against Forest Green, title challengers, 10 men, 10 minutes in, is a credit to the team. So, 1-1, I think a hard-working game, and I think two teams who might finish around each other in the league.
Yeah, I think what you said there, obviously about Matty Taylor as well. It's like you say, you know what you're going to get for him, and I think what you mentioned about Dan Creaney was why Craig's got Tamworth going down, losing his goals. We talked about that on the previous shows as well, so it's quite nice that tied in. Next, we obviously got Wealdstone versus Halifax. Max, it makes sense to come to you first for this one, for obvious reasons. What are you expecting from this game?
I think Halifax, obviously a back three last year, lost a few players to Barnet, so obviously a bit of not as in a shocking bad result, as in a little bit of a surprise result on the first day of the season. Obviously, I'm going to back my team to win. We'll have a meeting tomorrow. We train Monday, Tuesday mornings, and then Thursday evening. So we'll have a meeting tomorrow. We'll get in for about 4:45, have an analysis meeting at 5:15. So I'll find out more about how Halifax will be, what our plan will be, and I'm sure we'll implement that on the training pitch in the evening. I'll go for 2-1. I'd like to keep a clean sheet, but just for Wealdstone to have 6 points after 2 games would be perfect.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, it makes sense. I've got 1-1. I'm sorry, Max. I I'm not. I think Halifax will want to get back on track, even if it's a point away from home after such a result at the week. I can't remember who beat them. I don't think it's been mentioned. Who beat them at the weekend? I can't remember who it was.
Team
But
top of the league, mate.
yeah, that's number 4 or 5, I think. But yeah, I just think Halifax will want to bounce back. I don't think a point's necessarily a bad result for either team, but you're right. Obviously, with Wealdstone being at home, you kind of want to get off to 2 wins out of 2 would be ideal. But I've got 1-1. Craig, what have you got for this one?
Yeah, a unique situation where obviously Wealdstone will be the only team that's played 2 home games. So as Max said, if you can get 6 points from that early doors, it maybe stops you having to look over your shoulder as much as you maybe anticipated early on in the season. And you're looking at, as we said, maybe Woking, who might go 0 from 2, and then Wealdstone going 2 from 2. That 6 points early on in the season can be massive. I was impressed with Wealdstone from what I watched from the highlights. Obviously, DAZN only put those 3-4 minute packages in, but as you said, they weathered the storm early from that new and exciting team, throwing everything at them, and then just showed that little bit of quality. I like Sam Cox as a manager. I think he's a young and exciting one. He obviously didn't quite get what he wanted at Oxford, but I was surprised. Obviously, we can talk to Max a little bit more about this later, why he didn't get the job the first time round after obviously keeping you guys up 2 seasons ago. There may be obviously more that you can or can't tell us about that kind of thing. But that was an interesting thing that he didn't get it after that, because he managed to keep you guys up. But in terms of Halifax, as a Braintree fan, I was delighted with how they played. But as a football fan, I thought they were poor. They didn't seem to have any team cohesion. The centre halves had an off day. The front line looked like they'd not played together at all throughout pre-season. And then I don't know if you've seen the clips. I don't think the penalty miss even made the highlights. It was such a poor penalty, and it kind of just summed up their day. And I think at the moment with Florent Hottie now being ruled out for several months, as it said, it could be a season to worry for Halifax. I don't think they'll be down the bottom, but I don't think they'll be reaching the heights. And I think they're gonna lose this one. I'm going to back Wealdstone, and I'm going to back them to get that clean sheet as well, 2-0.
Come on.
Solid. Yeah, no, and obviously it'll be remiss of me to mention this, but Mark's been on here telling us, obviously, Sam Johnson, the goalkeeper of Halifax, is the best keeper in the league. And obviously, I've only just kind of really watched the league recently, with obviously Carlisle being in League 2, League 1 recently. And he made some mistakes at the weekend. So I messaged Mark and just said, like, are you 100% sure kind of thing? But Mark said, no, he just had an off day. He's still the best keeper in the league. So Mark doubled down on it anyways.
If he's only going to have one off day, at least he had it against Braintree.
Yeah. Yeah. He'll probably have the game of his life against Carlisle, no doubt. But yeah, no, just thought I'd mention that, seeing as Mark's not here to defend himself. And then lastly, we've got Truro versus York, which I believe is the 5:30 game for the enhanced coverage on DAZN. Max, I'll come to you first for this one, mate. What are you expecting from this one?
Yeah, I thought Truro were very direct against us, wanted to get it into channels, wanted to get it forward quite early. Played a back 3, so a lot of those dives have been played by the middle centre half. I know this obviously could backfire. I think this will be a baptism of fire for the level and Truro at the minute. I know confidently, York, I think this is the strongest squad in the league. York, not by a long way, but this is an incredible squad. Like, the budget the chairman's putting in. The only thing I can see going is maybe the manager leaving to go higher up during the season if and when jobs come up in League 1 and League 2, because I think he's very sought after for his Brighton experience and that. So I've gone 4-1 York. Again, it could be it is probably one of the longest journeys of the season, all the way down to Cornwall there. But I think York are a fantastic team. I do expect them to be definitely in the top 2. If there was 2 up, 2 down, which there should be, I'd have them nailed on to be promoted. But obviously 1 go up, but they are my favourites to win the league.
Yeah, I think York, their attacking pool of players that they have to choose from is insane in national league level. Like, the amount of players they have to choose from that can hurt you in so many different ways. I've got a comfortable York win as well. I've got 3-0 for this one. I just think York last week, I've like mentioned, Ollie Pearce scored 1 penalty, missed another. Chances were missed. Probably on another day they maybe come out on top in that game. Maybe just a bit of a slip first game, but I expect them to put Truro away comfortably in this one. Craig, what have you got for this one, mate?
Yes, what was your score? Sorry, mate, I missed that.
3-0.
3-0. Perfect. Yeah, so I think Truro's home form will be critical if they do stay up, but I think playing York will be a stretch too far for them. I think the quality of York, if it's not working, they'll have options to replace players like Josh Stones, obviously getting a mention off the bench potentially as well if things aren't clicking. One thing I did notice from York at the weekend as well is there was a few people being quite critical of the manager playing Felix in midfield. For me, he's the best right back in the league. Playing right back, you've got such a pool of players there. So why overcomplicate things? Don't reinvent the wheel. You've had a good window. You've built a really good squad. Play players where they need to play. Again, we talked about obviously square pegs in round holes, I think was the saying. But they don't need to do that. They've got the depth. They've got the quality. So get him back in right back, bombing up and down there. Put another creative midfielder in there, and I think they fly again. And I can't see Truro doing anything today, but I think their home form will be vital for them, and I think it may be enough to keep them up. But York will be a step too far. I'm going to go 2-0.
Yeah, I think you say right about Truro's home form. As a Carlisle fan, I'm not looking forward to the trip down there. I was in Cornwall I've said this before, Max, but I was in Cornwall on holiday last year and we went into Truro, but we flew down, so it wasn't too bad. But if anyone's driving down, honestly, it's going to be an absolute nightmare. I think we play them last away game of the season, like April time, so that's not too bad. Because when the fixtures came out, I was like, I'm waiting for it to be like mid-December, like absolutely freezing cold, travelling all the way down there, 10 hours in the car or something. It's like, no, not for me. But
for it to get postponed probably as well.
Frozen pitch. But yeah, obviously that covers our predictions. Obviously we're hoping for a good week from Max to pull the guests back on there. But again, no pressure. But it's all on Max this week for the guests. Hopefully I can catch Craig up. And obviously, hopefully Carlisle can get another win at the weekend for me. Hopefully Braintree can come out on top for Craig, and obviously we all wish Wealdstone the best at the weekend for Max as well, and the best for the rest of the season. Thanks, Max, for your time tonight. And obviously you're welcome back anytime, mate, if you want to come on. And more than happy to chat to you. I'm sure you've got a lot more stories to tell us over the course of a season if you ever want to pop back on. So thanks very much, mate. And thanks to Craig for coming on as always as well. And Mark,
just one thing before we go, mate.
Yeah,
Braintree top of the league.
Yeah, definitely they are. We won't forget that anytime in the next few days, and we'll hope to have Mark back next week as well. Get well soon, Mark. Take care, and we'll see you all next week. Thanks, everyone.